Hi, Rich. I'm just going to hook the listeners in here. What's wrong with our shoes?
Wow, what an interesting hook. I bet the listener is desperate to find that out. So many things, Andy. Gosh, did you know how bad our shoes were for us?
Yeah, I didn't actually. And it's one of those episodes that, like, both simultaneously, I was genuinely hooked by it, but also quite worried, and I had a sort of playback of all the things I used to do when I was little. For example, I used to try and get smaller football boots because I think I heard one time that made you better if you like cram your feet into a football boot that was slightly too small. God knows where I got that from, and all the horrendous mistakes I made with footwear and still continue to make.
My brother, he liked to have a lot of fun with me, and one of the ways he would get into my mind was telling me that my feet were too big.
Really? Yeah, I think there's a bit of self-consciousness as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously your feet grow a bit before you do, and I was walking around with like size 9s when I was sort of 12 or something. It just looked so stupid, so I think that probably had a role to play in it. And now I've probably buggered up my feet as a result. So, but it's not irredeemable, is it?
No, there's plenty of ways you are going to learn, listener, how you can be saved by Vivo Barefoot. Saved. I mean, it is like a religious saving in some regard.
I think it was genuinely very eye-opening, and I wasn't insincere when I said I'm going to get myself down to the Vivo Barefoot store in Covent Garden. I've actually been a while ago, but I think I bottled it on fashion grounds. But I've seen some of the designs, and they are actually pretty sick these days, so... And now I'm doing this, I suppose I've got a bit more credibility, in the wellness world. They'll probably expect me to be wearing Vivos, won't they, really? If they ever see me in anything other, they'll be disappointed. Big
time. Yeah, I think the fashion industry in the biohacking world is quite a weird one. So you've got regular people who just turn up in, just normal clothes. Then you have the extreme biohackers who are all wearing these, really quite weird stuff. They're all wearing Vivos with massive toe boxes, and then they all seem to wear these massive cargo pants, pants, because they've got so many devices and biohacks in their pocket. I'm guessing they need 20 pockets. And they've all got weird necklaces and things, and then they've obviously got the orange glasses and things. So
when you say you're one of them, Rich. So
I tried to balance it. I try to look like a cool normie / he's got some slightly yellow glasses.
It's a bit quirky. There. Well, you're going to have to dress me for the biohacking conference next year in Austin.
Yes.
I'm going to look like a fish out of water, I think. Just go nuts. I'll wear the glasses. I'll wear the cargo pants. Obviously, I'll have my Vivo Barefoot. And, who knows?
Yeah. And
I might even just walk around with a red light as well. So
just walking around flashing people.
Yeah, no, not like that. With my red light.
Yeah, that's what I meant. What did you think I meant?
But anyway, who've we got on today from Vivo Barefoot?
Yeah, we've got Philip Anthony Mangan, another model.
So he was a good-looking chap, I thought. I wasn't going to say anything because I thought it was a bit irrelevant, but yeah.
Yes, it wasn't particularly relevant to the show, but that's if you're watching on YouTube, check that out.
Check them out, yeah.
So we learn all sorts about the history of shoes and why they've been messing up, how we can recover from the torture that we've been placing our shoes in, and some sort of wider themes as well. Running through sort of like foot orthorexia. Is that a thing? Have people become too obsessed with foot health, and what's the antidote for that?
Yeah, I think that they do seem like a genuinely good company, and I thought I had no idea the association to Clark's Footwear, which is obviously a very well-established brand in the UK. So they've obviously got the kind of credentials behind them, and they also seem like a very ethical and spot on brand. So I hope you enjoy listening about them and what you can do for your feet, listener.
Hey listener, if you're enjoying the insights and stories we share on our pod, then don't miss out on any of our episodes. Hit the subscribe button to download and listen to our conversations at your convenience.
Philip, welcome to the show. I'm going to start you off nice and easy. What is wrong with our shoes?
Oh, that is an easy one. Well, first off, thanks for having me. And that is a question that I don't think most people realize. Hence, we've been wearing the same shoes since we've been born, and we've been marketed to in a certain way. And we just think it's normal. But when you look at the modern shoe, there's a couple things wrong with it. It doesn't have a wide toe box. It doesn't allow your toes to splay. Naturally, you're jamming your toes into a small area, and then it's cushioned, so then you're not able to connect to the ground and activate the actual muscles in your foot. And then it's very rigid, so most modern shoes you wouldn't be able to like roll up in a ball. So then it is not allowing your foot and ankle to move how it was intended to move. Thus, you're not able to build that strength in your ankle. So, that's why I think a lot of people refer to like, I need ankle support. Well, that's because you just have weak ankles, but it's usually because of the shoes.
Got it.
Are there any other ways that the shoes are harming us? Like they call it like back problems and things like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's where I think you can go from the cushion to the heel. So anytime you have a heel, the larger the heel, the more obviously you're disconnected from the ground and out of balance, I guess you would say. So your alignment, like, so think about this, like if you're walking around on a heel and not a very flat surface, you're going to be putting the majority of your weight on one part of your foot, and that basically messes up the whole kinetic change. So it's like basically your feet are the foundation for the rest of your body. So if you're out of whack in your feet, then it goes all the way up, and essentially a lot of people have back pain because of that.
Interesting. And so I suppose why should we wear barefoot shoes? It's probably worth saying at this point you work for a company called Vivo or Vivo. How do I say it? And
Vivo.
Yeah, Vivo. Okay, cool. And so why should we wear barefoot shoes?
Well, yeah, I kind of just touched on that first question basically. So, our feet can move how they were intended to move, our feet and ankles. So, and then essentially, so we can have better balance and stronger feet and create less pain for ourselves and less potential chances of injury.
Yeah, I think I'm doing some further breathwork training at the moment, and they just did a little video on how our feet affect our breathing. So that, these people were suggesting, we kind of foam roll or golf ball roll our feet, and we did that exercise. And when we massaged our feet, our breathing became more open. So it's like our feet are not just these little things we cram in these little boxes, but they affect so much more of our body.
That's amazing. Honestly, like when you start doing, if you get into like obviously first, obviously maybe one of the things that you do is just get barefoot. And if you start doing certain like things, trying to do, it's called like toe exercise, like toga, it's called. When you start seeing how much our body is connected, if you're doing these toe exercises, trying to like potentially raise one of your toes, your big toe up and keep the other ones down, you'll start seeing your hands kind of like maneuver a little bit, but that's just because we're connected. We're trying to, and we don't realize like we're just so disconnected down there because we have this big barrier between us and the ground. And most people go all day just wearing shoes like that, and obviously they don't think anything of it. So, and then as you mentioned with the breath work, it's the more you're releasing that tension there, it's allowing you to relax more.
Yeah.
So what happened? Like, was it just a slow corruption of, the fashion industry having this big impact on us, and us hearing that pointy is fashionable, or? And I realize it's not your responsibility, by the way, Philip. I should say.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, I don't know exactly what happened, but I think it's like anything in life. I think there was good intentions behind it, and then slowly it starts shifting, little by little, and then that just becomes the norm. And I think you don't really need to correct a problem if like you already have the proper tools, your foot. I mean, essentially it's nice to have some protection on the bottom of your foot in case you're walking over different terrains. You don't want to get your foot cut on glass and all this different stuff, or even rocks. But I think when it started, it had good intention of protection, and then it just slowly over time, the heel got bigger, the cushion got more, and you're trying to look for advancements in the shoe. How do you get people to keep buying things? You try to create the next best version. Well, you don't need to create the next best version if you already have it. You were born with it. So I think it's just one of those things that, as we've seen probably in our lifetimes, it's just the slow build, and then it just becomes like, even now you start seeing some of the shoes that they're coming out with is crazy, like how big the cushion is, and or how like, and I mean, is there and they say it's technology. Is it really technology? Is it really helping us? And I think that to be determined in reality. I mean, it obviously allows us to do certain things at a quicker speed, like run, but your running might be completely wrong from it, and you're running disconnected. And so, yeah, I think it just happened over time. I guess that's the simplest answer.
Yeah. And so I've heard of friends who've got quite flat feet and then they get given shoes that have got one of those really big, like, artificial arches in. Is that completely the wrong approach then, from what I'm hearing?
Well, I know the science behind flat feet a little bit more, but very briefly, but I just know, like, usually flat feet, unless there's a couple different types of flat feet, and there's only a very, very small percentage of people with flat feet that actually need to make a actual bigger shift in their footwear with, like, adjustments. And I think it doesn't hurt to have, like, some arch support to start. And when you want to build a strong arch, you start with an insert, but the thing is, people usually just think that they need it and they continue to have it. It's like almost kind of like a Band-Aid. It's like, hey, this is helping me, but you're not able to develop the arch if you're not actually using that insert. So I think that's the issue here. It's like with a lot of people, even with like plantar fasciitis, it really is just a weakness of the foot. So then they're putting inserts in, but you're not actually able to activate, and you're obviously in these shoes that aren't allowing you to activate the muscles in your foot. So then it's obviously just, again, it might feel good at first, but over time you still have that same issue. So I think a lot of our, like, foot problems that we think we can be corrected from, like, a quick fix of, like, an insert, just really need actually to put in the time and work. And the simplest thing you can do is just being barefoot more often. And then if you can't be barefoot, you can get into a pair of shoes that replicate being barefoot, like our shoes.
Yeah, this reminds me of a theme we came up in our last episode with this guy, Craig. He's a men's worker. And it's just all these sort of things we do to make our life easier actually come back to bite us. And we're just, we're no longer resilient. Our feet we think we're solving a problem by putting shoe lifts on or arch supports, and we're actually making ourselves weaker. And yeah, we just need to build up some strength in our feet. And yeah, I had that problem. I had plantar fasciitis for a long time, and yeah, I went to a foot specialist, and they created custom insoles with really supportive arches, and it didn't go away. Like, it kind of managed the problem. It didn't get any worse. Then I switched to Vivo Barefoot and doing those toe lifts, toga, like you said. And yeah, I haven't really had plantar fasciitis since. So for me, it was a real game changer. One other question I have is, like, I've heard that the toe lift in regular shoes is quite bad. Like, how we're almost like, the shoes that they have a high heel and then the toes go up at the end. How big of a problem is that?
Yeah, well, number one, obviously, usually the toe lift is not only lifted, but the toe box is not only lifted, but it is small. So then not only is it not allowing your toes to connect to the ground, but it's not allowing them to splay. And the big toe is actually the foundation of our stability. So that's actually why we developed the big toe. It was to actually keep us to stand and to be stable. So that's probably the one thing that you see most often is people, and we have this tool that we use when we do events. It's called a plantar pressure plate, and you get on, you can stand on with your shoes on, but we show people, hey, this is how it looks with your shoes on. You usually can't see your foot, and you're just saying, hey, like, well, how are you even activating your feet? But then when you put it on, take your shoes off and you get on there, you actually usually, most people, you won't see their toes being activated there. And that's the problem. It's like most people, as the cushion and the heels are doing, is making us have this, like, a little lean back almost. And then when you look at that, is that really posture? If you're not standing straight up, you're always leaning back almost in a way. So the toe not being able to activate that big toe is a very big problem. So we usually will prescribe how to correct that is doing those toe exercises, because that you're just starting to, and it's very challenging. Don't get me wrong. It definitely takes some time and effort, but again, like if you're looking at it from like a longevity standpoint and an overall health standpoint, like anything, you have to do the work. It's like if you want to be fit and into later in life, you got to stay active. You have to be doing the things. You have to be eating well. It's not like, hey, I'm just taking a pill and then I'm fine. So feet are the same thing. There's no magic pill to it, but it's the easiest way you can actually start reversing this whole issues with your feet is just really just getting barefoot more often. I mean, it's simple as that, and it's free. You don't necessarily need to buy the shoes, especially if you work from home. Be barefoot all day and expose your feet to different elements, like even your toes. There's different like little tools that you can do for like balance and like gripping your toes. But there's lots of exercises, even just that you can do with towel grabs with your toes, and that's super simple. So yeah, I'm glad you pointed out. And it's like, it almost creates that rocking motion when you're not able to. And I think that's probably what's allowing people to even get maybe a little bit quicker, is you're not actually even on the ground as long.
Yeah. What you said there about it being difficult, it's amazingly difficult. When I was trying to do the keep your big toe down and lift up your other 4 toes and then go back and forward. Listener, you might want to give this a try. So yeah, you press your 4 toes into the ground and lift your big toe up, and then you swap when you press your big toe down and lift the other 4 up. I do like 3 sets of 10 on that. When I first started, I could not do it at all. I was just staring at my feet for like 5 minutes. I was in a physical therapy center, and it just looked like I was like a mad person just staring at my feet with nothing happening. I was trying to make my feet move, but I couldn't. Eventually, after a few weeks of practice, it became just like doing it with my hands. But I just completely lost that connection between my brain and my feet.
Yeah, and it's good that you pointed out like the brain connection, because if you look back when we first started walking, it's not like you'll see most people are not putting their babies right in a pair of shoes, because that's actually how you get that sensory feedback. So it's like, and we're basically blocking our sensory feedback, and we've blocked it for so many years that now we just think it's the norm kind of thing. And that's the problem when it comes to doing those little toe exercises. That makes it so frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Another exercise I like is marbles, picking up marbles, like 30 marbles, and then putting them in a bucket with your toes. That's quite a fun one.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
You know how to live, Rich.
Oh yes, that's how I have my fun.
I thought you did the golf ball thing, rolling the golf ball on the
so that's for massage and getting rid of tension and things like that. But then you also need to strengthen the feet as well. But one thing I don't know so much is the toe spacers. Vivo sell those, don't they? Why should we use those?
Well, we don't make them specifically, but now we actually have them on our website with one of our partners, Naboso. But yeah, toe spacers are great because obviously it kind of helps in that getting that splay a bit more and letting the toes kind of just loosen up, I guess the best way to put it. So before I even got into wearing Vivos, I think that's a very good, easy entry tool for people to use. And usually you'll see like you put them on but you're not able to wear them a long period of time, because your toes will actually start to hurt because they're being like almost forced back into the natural position they had. But it's been so long since they've been there, and unfortunately, it'll hurt, but over time it actually kind of helps, I guess not say speed up the process, because it's not a speedy process. And I think it honestly helps getting you used to having that splay a bit more. And maybe once you do have a little bit more of a room in between your toes, it makes almost those toe exercises a little bit easier because you're actually used to having them splayed like that. So yeah, they're a great tool and very easy entry point. You can get a pair for like probably $10 and put them on, but and wearing them, you can even wear them. What's cool about it is actually you can even wear them in Vivo Barefoot shoes. So one of my colleagues, he kind of got me into the toe socks as well. So then it's like he was wearing the toe socks, then he had the toe spacer on top of that, and then in the Vivos, and it's like you're fully just like splayed the whole day. So there's levels to it, you know, and I mean honestly, it really just depends on how crazy you want to get. But I mean, the a general level is just being barefoot more often, and then even maybe using toe spacers.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
I can remember seeing my grandmother's feet, years of pointy shoes, and just like she was in all sorts of pain, like bunions and like toes,
Hmm.
curling in over each other. So that was sort of like the extreme end of it. It's like if you wear these shoes for like 80 years, your feet become malformed and they start to hurt you. So I mean that's sort of a very good reason to not wear these really pointy shoes all the time and to get a bit it's not just about getting optimal, it's about avoiding pain as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the bunions thing is you just pointed that out. It's like, yeah, like that's how bunions. It's not like really like a hereditary thing. It's actually like just from you jamming your feet into a space, and then it's creating the muscle, like the growth, because of your feet are jammed in, and you're not able to actually let your feet naturally splay.
Mm. So tell us what Vivo offers. Obviously, there are other barefoot brands out there, but we want to know what's special about Vivo.
Yeah, what's really special about Vivo, and it actually, like when I first learned about the company, it kind of caught my eye the most. They're very big into the sustainability, and they're trying to be regenerative as possible with like the footwear that they create. So they are a certified B Corp, and you don't really see that. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any other brand in the footwear industry that is a B Corp. It's because the supply chain is just, it's a crazy, a lot of times you'll see like most shoes they have like 25 or 30 touch points. So it's very hard to be sustainable in the footwear industry. But that's Vivo's goal. It's not about just connecting people back to nature and connecting yourself to the ground. It's actually, they believe by connecting people back to nature, they actually want to take care of it. And I think that goes for us, like as a company, it's like we want to set that example. It's not like we're not just creating a piece of footwear for your health. It's like for the health of the planet. And that's I think the real cool part about it is they're always looking about it. How can we do better, and how can we create less waste?
Yeah, and it's interesting that it was set up by one of the sons of the Clarks family, right? So in the US, I don't think Clarks are very famous, but all my shoes when I was a kid were from Clarks. They were a huge shop, franchise, or I don't know if it's a franchise, but shoemaker in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a real cool, like when you hear the story and go to these company events and even get to talk to the founders. They're seventh generation cobblers, and I think that's actually, if you look way back, it's kind of like how Clark started in a way of like wanting a wider toe box, like of actual foot shaped shoe. So it's just, even for them too, they probably steered away from that over time, just happened to be that way. But it is really cool to see that they're, this seventh generation family, and then they're trying to actually correct the damage that's been done in a way from many shoes.
Mm. And what kind of range of footwear do you have?
Yeah, we honestly, we make it all, which is pretty amazing. I don't know many other companies doing that. And yeah, we have obviously a whole fitness range, and we have outdoor range, boots, trail running shoes. And then we have a big category of lifestyle shoes when it comes to like sneakers, everyday wear, to sandals, to lifestyle boots. So it continues to kind of grow, I think, in that realm, because I think one thing that people don't realize, especially like when it comes to barefoot shoes, is like the more you wear them, the more benefits you're going to have. So you'll see a lot of people in the training space wearing Vivos. I think because they understand the science behind it most, especially like the trainers and physios, chiropractors, all the health professionals, they understand Vivo pretty well. But in the training space specifically, you'll see people either barefoot in the gym or maybe wearing, Vivos or another barefoot shoe. But when they get out of the gym, they put their feet back in those shoes again, the small toe box, the thick soles. And there's just this big disconnect that actually in reality, you'll get more benefits if you don't even, if you're not wearing them in the gym. If you're wearing them, I think the main study that was done, it was done by like Oxford University, is like, I think it was done over like a 6-month period of time. It's if you wear Vivos basically like 6 days a week, I guess you would say like 80% of your time over a 6-month period, the studies show that you can increase your foot strength up to, I think it was like 58%. So it was like just by walking around in them everyday life, you're increasing your foot strength. And I think that's probably where the disconnect is there but also it comes from like our desire to be fashionable, I think. And I never used to think like barefoot shoes were that fashionable. Like when I first learned about them, I discovered Vivo in like 2018. After I got like my personal training certification, I just kind of was able to connect the dots of like, being barefoot is better for you. And I just remember seeing their range and being like, I'd wear these to train in, but I don't really see any like fashion staples of like in my wardrobe. But now that's one of their biggest focuses, like, cause that's, I think, that's how you get the general population, is you create something that's not only functional, that is actually has some fashion to it as well. So there's the growing range of the lifestyle, but I'd say we've been the most popular in the performance range.
Yeah, I'd echo that point, that when I first started wearing Vivos, I felt a little bit self-conscious about it. But now, the designs have really improved. I love the new motor strength ones. I think they're the best looking ones, and they're the best for like training CrossFit. We were speaking off air about professional athletes wearing Vivos, but I think professional CrossFitters could be wearing Vivos, or perhaps should be. But yeah, do you want to elaborate on that point about athletic shoes?
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, it's like, most athletic shoes they fall into the same category, just like smaller toe box, and also like cushion, especially when it comes to like basketball players and stuff like that. And usually they're rigid as well, so they're actually falling into the same categories as like most modern day shoes. But where we see kind of like the athletes using Vivos is not on the court or on the field. It's actually off the court and off the field for their training. So basically being able to strengthen their feet and ankles, so when they actually get onto the court, it actually enhances their performance. And it's been really cool to see a lot more athletes in our shoes. A lot of people are reaching out to us, whether it's the trainers from the teams or agents with the players interested in trying them out. And for us, it's like, I think when you see it from like in the performance space and on the athletic, like pro sports level, that it actually is going to make a very strong impact, because pro athletes wouldn't be using something unless they actually believed in it, that it would enhance their performance. And I think they're understanding the science now, especially their trainers are usually the ones introducing it to them. So I think a lot of exciting possibilities in that space for athletes that have only done it one way, especially basketball players. When you think about that, it's like they're really disconnected from the ground and their feet, and obviously they're going in all different types of direction on the court. And a lot of people have like ankle sprains or Achilles issues and all these different things that could actually might even be prevented by actually just having stronger feet for when they actually get on the court. So it's exciting times that now it's getting recognized, barefoot shoes for actually, or even just more barefoot training.
Yeah. There is a bit of a transition to wearing barefoot, isn't there? I've worn them for running when I first started. I started to get a little bit of shin splints. I also wore them for tennis once, and I got quite bad blisters and things like that. So when people are thinking about transitioning, what should they think about?
Yeah, I think the best way to like look at it is, think about it this way. Like if you haven't like worked out, like you didn't go to the gym for like a month or 2 months, now say like enhance that to like 20 years of your life. Like you go to the gym and you work out, you're going to be really sore the next day. And especially if you work out really hard, like, hey, I'm going to go all out. So it's very same with your feet. Your feet haven't been worked out, essentially. They haven't been put through that. So it's always best to kind of like go slow and easy with the transitioning. We usually say, wear them around the house for a little bit, wear them outside for like a short walk, and kind of see what feels good and what doesn't feel good. If it starts to feel like discomfort, then maybe get out of them and let your body get used to them. So I think a lot of people have the issue with doing too much in them to start. So it's really better to start slow and easy. Even for me, like when I first got them and I kind of learned, I kind of knew about the transition a little bit, but of course, I pushed it a little too much and I ended up just running in them. But that was also because before I got Vivos, I got these like socks that were kind of like sock shoes in a way. So very same. And I got up to like a 5K over time, but it took a long time for me to get up to that 5K. And now I just did a 27K mountain run in Vivos. And like my feet, it takes a long time to even get up to that. And it takes a long time to stay at that level where I wouldn't say my feet are as sore, but my calves, they feel it the most, I think, whenever I'm going a further distance. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just need to take it slow and easy and just listen to your body, to be honest. I think that's the best way to do it. Like all things, like if you're feeling it, then back out and then see how you're feeling tomorrow and then maybe get back in them and go a little bit further.
And are we wearing socks with Vivo or ideally not?
Yeah, I mean, you treat them like they're regular shoes. I mean, you don't have to wear socks with them, but I treat them like they're regular shoes, as in like to reducing the smell and
yeah, that's what I'm
of
thinking from a hygiene point of view. It's,
that's really what it is. I mean, but yeah, like you don't have to wear them. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Okay. And when you're running 27K, which model are you wearing? Like the Primus Light or the special trail running shoes?
Yeah, I was wearing one of the special trail running shoes. They have like a Michelin sole, so like Michelin tires. It's a very rugged sole. So, and that was actually very helpful for the mountain run. And we were going over different terrains, and it was actually the one that I wore was the Hydra ESC, which is actually made for swim runs also, and just made to drain very quickly. And thankfully, I wore those ones because it was very, very muddy, wet terrain. So I wasn't really afraid of jumping in the mud. And the funny thing was watching actually other people that didn't have Vivos on going into the mud or other things. And you can just see how unstable they were. And when you're going into these different elements, because if you have that cushion and you're going into this like terrain that's not very like allowing you to connect to the ground, it's almost like you're just more prone to like an ankle roll or falling down.
Where were you doing that run? Not in Florida, I hope. 100-degree humidity.
Not in Florida. Actually, did it in Sweden. Yeah, so it was beautiful, honestly. And I kind of decided to do it within the week prior to it. And I wouldn't say like I was 100% trained up to go that far, but I would say that like I just was like, all right, I'm going to take it slow and easy. And there's a lot of elevation gain. So it was like you're walking up the hills more so and then just running down them and through the other areas. But yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, I couldn't pass up running in that beautiful location, even though there was other distances. It was actually like a week-long running event. So it was cool. And Vivo was actually one of the main sponsors for the event. So it was cool to kind of see people's interest in the shoes.
And you mentioned it's very much like a growth industry. I think I'm seeing them more and more on the streets of London. Does that mean the science is catching up, and in terms of like medical knowledge as well? Because I'm just thinking, I know people with bunions, and not once has their doctor recommended a change of footwear. It's always, you can get these corrective splints, or you can get quite expensive and probably very painful operations. So, I mean, is the science now like catching up with the idea that these things can actually really help your feet?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's about getting the right educators on board to educate people. I mean, at the end of the day, when you think about anything that changes over time, it all starts with an open mind by you, the consumer, also you, the educator. And I think with all these different health tools and advances that are people's interest in how to biohack their health, it's really, I think, opening the door for Vivo a bit more. And it's kind of honestly, when you think about it in general, it's like one of the simplest ways you can do it is just be barefoot more. And And then if you understand that being barefoot more, then you say, hey, well, how can I replicate this throughout the rest of my day when I can't be barefoot? And then you get into the shoes. But I do believe it just, it's people are just being more open-minded. And I think also when you think about it from a generational standpoint, you have this group that, maybe of older people that have been taught a certain way and that are harder to change. And then you start seeing the younger crowd of educators come in that are more open-minded and that are learning different sciences than the people above them. And I think that's probably where it's starting to catch on more and people are picking up on it. And then again, maybe it's going into multiple areas, the education, but also the looks of it and then the popularity. And it's like kind of almost like boiling up in different areas to where it actually is creating more of a buzz, which is, it's really cool. I know obviously whenever I go to London, that store is packed. Like there's always like a long line outside of it. And it's just really cool to see that like people are willing to wait in line to get into this store and purchase shoes that are barefoot. And I'm excited to see whenever Vivo gets their first store in the US. I think it might take some time to grow to that level where it's a line out, but I do think there's a big opportunity here.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about how you're trying to position it in the market? I know you work with pro athletes, is that right? And what's your like marketing strategy? How are you kind of getting the message out there?
Yeah, I would say in multiple areas. I'd say like obviously the athletes we haven't really dove into the marketing aspect of the athletes yet. It's really just about getting it on their feet. That's where it all starts with everyone is you get the shoes on someone's feet, and then especially if at a pro level, it carries into the locker room with the rest of the athletes. And then the influence of athletes on professional level is obviously helpful to grow a brand, which there's, again, so much possibility with that. So I'm excited for us to get to that point where we're actually potentially having someone, whether it's in a baseball player, athlete, or someone in the NBA. We do have John Florence, the professional surfer who we partnered up with, which has been very helpful for the brand growth. So I think it's all about being very strategic in different ways. Obviously, we're focused on the younger generation as well, because when you get the younger generation in and they understand it, then and also I think the younger generation is a bit more open-minded to these different health, the benefits of Vivo, but also the environment, caring for the environment, which is obviously what Vivo is all about. So I think when you look at it from a marketing standpoint, you focus on the people that are more open-minded rather than needing to correct and really convince someone on a greater level that it might be harder to convince on like someone that's done something 50, 60 years of their life. But I do think overall we're diving into different areas, but it all starts with the education and it's finding great educators to actually explain to people why our shoe is different than the modern shoe. And that's not the easiest job, especially if you're not open-minded, but there's a lot of great people that we work with that are actually helping grow the brand. And it's really exciting to see. I've been with Vivo now for almost 2 years, and it's just really cool to see like how much of an impact some of these people that we're partnered up with have.
Yeah, that growth mindset, I think, is what Vivo has, and I think it's what all our guests have and all our kind of listeners have. And I think, there's that term from Carol Dweck, the growth mindset. I think there are probably 50% of the people have a growth mindset. 50% of people they don't want to change. And I get very frustrated when, speaking to people who they just want a reason not to change. They don't want any discomfort. But, Vivo really embody that growth mindset. They're always looking to grow, always looking to improve. And I went into that Covent Garden shop and met Ben LeVisconte and started having a great chat with him. And then just realized, he was completely on the same wavelength as me. I did a breathwork session for him, and I think he had a very good experience. And then we did Natalia and I did a breath workshop in that shop in Covent Garden. So we did conscious connected breathing on the floor of the shop with a load of people from Vivo, and it was awesome. But just going on to a slightly more technical question. I think some people just, they are fashion conscious. Guilty. I am barefoot most of the time, and I train in Vivo Barefoots. How much damage am I doing if I go into like a pair of Vans? I want to go out to dinner, and the Vans look better with what I'm wearing. How much damage am I doing from wearing shoes for like 3 to 4 hours?
Oh, I mean, I think again, you can almost go back to the study that I kind of quoted. I think as long as you're in the barefoot shoes or being barefoot the majority of the time, you're not really doing a whole lot of damage. Like I think again, I think it's the opposite. If you were to flip flop that and you were like, hey, I'm going to be in my Vans the rest of the time and only be in Vivos like 3-4 hours, you're kind of missing out on the benefits. So, I mean, I don't think even Vivo expects everyone to, have every single shoe that they own a barefoot shoe. I mean, also that would probably go against our company mission of like creating more waste. It's not like, hey, go throw away all your shoes. I mean, if I go to a wedding, I'll still put my feet in I put it into a coffin, I guess, if it is what it. And I don't really worry. I just notice the difference. That's the best way to put it. Like, I'm not thinking like, oh, this is going to reverse everything. It's just like my feet hurt more when I'm in those shoes, and I want to get them out of there. So it actually is like not a lot of damage, but I think you'll notice the difference, that especially the more you actually are barefoot and you go into a shoe that might look more fashionable, but you'll probably notice the difference and not want to be in it for as long.
Yeah, and there definitely are a lot of people in the biohacking world who are extreme, who have probably burnt all their regular shoes and just bought Vivos. I definitely know some people who only ever wear Vivos, and chiropractors who say you should never wear anything but Vivos. But I think we need to invent a term like orthorexia, food obsession, and there is now like a tracker obsession. Apparently, there is like a mental health disorder where people get so obsessed with their Oura rings and things like that. Maybe there needs to be a barefoot shoe mental health disorder word. Maybe we can coin that here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. There's always going to be people that are on that extreme approach of doing things, and it's like it's almost kind of like when I want, actually what kind of like led me into like more of the desire for more like sustainable brands is when I went vegan, and I went vegan more for like I was interested in like the health aspect of it. But like I remember when I first went vegan and I saw these people like the extremists of the vegan world, and it's like, oh, you can't do this or can't do that. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it my way that keeps me sane. And like, and I think that's the thing. It's like, I think you hear this majority of the time too, with even just any diet. It's like, if you eat clean, like still 80% of the time, you're going to be fine. It's really when you flip it the opposite way where it's like it's bad for you. So I think there's always going to be scenarios where people just want to go above and beyond. Good for them. There's no harm in that, but also there's no harm in putting your foot in another shoe for a little bit of time. And I think there's a lot of room for growth, especially in the fashion aspect of barefoot shoes. And I think we're slowly seeing it. And when it gets there, maybe you'll find a pair of Vans that are like, or Vivos that look like Vans, and then you'd wear that.
Yeah, it's another sort of theme that I see running through so much of society. It's like the people who are the most mentally ill are the ones who speak loudest. The people who are the extreme carnivores and the extreme vegans are the ones who are the most vocal. Yet we don't realize that these people probably have orthorexia, and they become the spokespeople because they're full of rage. And then it's the same thing with religious fundamentalists and political extremists. It's always the extremes that sort of give everyone else like a skewed idea of what normal is and what normal and what healthy is. But yeah, I think that's the message of this podcast. Just let's be normal.
Right. Yeah, I think we're trying to do that. Yeah. So let's say someone's listened to this. They are still teetering on the edge of being convinced by Vivo. Is there any way you can find kind of like, or you can share any stories or testimonials of people using the shoe who've had such significant benefits? You mentioned the Oxford University study over the 6-month period, but where can we hear more about Vivo users?
Yeah, I'll go to the obviously social media page. Vivo works with a lot of people that have either used Vivos to correct something, or use it because they know the benefits of it. So they'll be able to explain like the different benefits in that way. But also, like, I think Vivo is now doing reviews on their website, so you can read reviews over there too. But yeah, I think like just Googling barefoot testimonials, I think you'll find a lot of people that have actually corrected a lot of issues with themselves. And I think that'd probably be the best route to go on if you really want to dive into the research more. I know like Vivo actually has on their website, we have a whole page set up too about the different like science behind everything. If anyone's
that's awesome, yeah.
Geek out and dive more into it.
I was thinking people might actually correct things they don't even know are connected to their feet. To be honest, I think I'd probably fall in that category. If I've got a bad knee, I would just have it wouldn't even cross my mind that it would be to do with the way I walk on my feet. Until actually dig into the science.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's like with the knee pain. A lot of people have knee pain from like when they run and stuff, and it's like usually that's just like when you're wearing like modern day running shoes, you're usually not landing like properly. It's kind of messing up your running form, and then people will see that correction of ease of pain because when you're wearing barefoot shoes, your form kind of gets naturally corrected because you can't land on your heel without it really killing you. It's like, so over time, people will understand how the proper running form is. Obviously, there's tips and tools to like, we do actually have a barefoot running course. We have a lot of educational courses on the website. That is something to highlight. But like over time, usually you'll start seeing that correction. And then when you are landing properly, then you're not engaging like those areas that you're not supposed to, and you'll see the pain relief.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got to be honest. I'm not currently an owner of Vivo Barefoot shoes. I know my shoe size because I went into the store one time, but this is going to tip me into taking the plunge.
Nice. I love that.
Do you have like a discount code?
Yeah, I can create one for you guys if you want, and then you can have your own one that you could share with this episode.
Sweet,
awesome. That's very
sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, and where do we find you, Philip?
Well, you can find me. You can go to my personal Instagram, Philip Anthony Mangan. Feel free to say hi if you have any questions. If you listen to this episode and you want to learn more, I can either answer or I can direct you to the right person. But like Ben Leviscante, like he knows so much more. I'm always excited to be around people that know more about the barefoot shoes than me and just like the science behind it. And I think that's what's great about the position I'm in. I'm really around a lot of educators. I'm even managing a lot of people that are doing the education and on another level. So it's really cool to see, and I'm happy to help out in any way I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. And Vivo just seems like such a genuine and ethical brand. And I actually didn't know anything about the history in terms of Clark's family, and that's nice. Awesome. Yeah, adds some credibility as far as I'm concerned. So keep going, keep up the good work.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
So, Andy, what are your key takeaways from our episode?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Oh, really? Is that because you asked me to ask it off air?
Yeah, I asked you to ask it just before we went on air. I think I'm genuinely going to go and get a pair, because if you see the difference between how the end of a normal shoe tapers and how Vivo actually kind of look, I mean, it's chalk and cheese. It couldn't be more opposite. And like the splayed look, I don't know how I'm going to get used to it fashion wise, but I'm going to have to suck it up, because it seems we are doing, in some cases, irreparable damage to our feet by cramming them into these. I can't remember the phrase he used, but the small toe box shoe.
Yeah. Coffins, foot coffins. Yeah.
Foot coffins. Yeah. That's pretty dramatic, but it's irrefutable science, it seems. No one's going against that.
Yeah. And I think this is one of those biohacks that anyone can do. A lot of people have been like, oh, I don't really want to change because I don't have the time or I don't have the money or things like that. And it's like, Yeah, okay. Well, this is one that's sort of less than free. You know, you just go barefoot and then you'll wear out your regular shoes less. You'll spend less money on shoes if you just take your shoes off more.
Yes.
So there's no real excuses from that point of view. It's a bit like cold showers. You know, they're less than free because you're not spending the money on hot water. But yeah. My kind of advice for switching to barefoot shoes is obviously go barefoot around the house as much as possible. I really like if you go into the gym, I really like the Motus Strength ones, and then they've got these Motus Flex ones as well, and they look really good. I was actually in the gym and someone came up to me and was like, "Oh my God, are those Vivos?" Like, "Oh my God, they look so good. I looked into them a few years ago and I didn't like the look of them, but those look sweet. I'm going to go buy some." And then the hiking boots. Yeah, we were just talking off air about the hiking boots because I think they look really good as well. Like, I think hiking boots, maybe it's not obviously not so important fashion in hiking as it is with, lifestyle
Speak
shoes
for yourself.
and gym shoes.
I like to look incredibly well presented up the mountain.
Fair enough. But I think they look cool. I think they look cooler than
they do.
regular hiking shoes.
Yeah, I think the reason I bottled it first time I went into the Vivo store in Covent Garden is because I think it was just, once you get up to my size, which is the UK 11.5, it does look quite big and quite flippery. But I think that you just got to suck it up and just think, well, I'm doing good for my feet, and there we go.
Yeah.
End of chat. But no, a lot of the designs are very, very, very good.
Yeah. And as he said, you don't have to wear them all the time. You don't have to go on a first date and feel like, I'm wearing flippers. You can wear your cool shoes, Andy.
Yeah, okay. Good to know. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as we did. And also, worth mentioning, very, very kindly, Philip has given us a code to pass on to you, 20% off Vivo Barefoot. So there's really no excuse to give them a go.
Yes, we'll put that in the show notes. And yes, where do they find us, Andy? What else?
Great question. They find you at The Breath Geek, and they find me at Andy Esam. And there's also a fantastic website called richardlblake.com.
Oh, yes. Check it out. It's brimming with blog posts. Well, we do put a blog about every episode. So if you want to read more about the episode, check that out on my website.
And also, I'd encourage you to go on the Vivo website and look at all the testimonials and sciencey bits, because obviously we couldn't fit all of that into a 45-minute episode.
Yeah. And the newsletter now. We're doing the newsletter coming out bi-weekly, and there's extra additional content, additional insights from me, and you'll be kept up to date with what's going on for us over here at the show.
All right. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.